Episode number 172.
Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Hello. I am jumping on and I'm talking to you about why you need to stop saying that you don't have the experience required to really go for what you want and what you should be doing instead. So I'm excited to talk about this topic. This is something that comes up a lot when I speak to people who are contemplating making a career move or career change. So we're going to dive in, but stop saying that you don't have the experience required for what it is that you want. And the reason why I'm saying this is oftentimes when people are looking at making a career move, or they've decided that what they're doing right now is no longer serving them, or what they're doing right now is no longer the type of work that they want to be doing. They want to be making more of an impact and they want to be doing more in the world. When they decide that, or when they think about that, the next thing that they think about is, well, what else would I do? I've been doing this for so long. I've been in this industry. I've been in this role. I've been in this space for so long, and I don't know what else I would do. Or I know what I'd quite like to do, but I have no idea how I would move into that because I don't have enough experience. So this lack of experience piece comes up a lot. And then people feel like, well, I don't really have experience in that. And I don't want to start at the bottom because I've worked really hard to get to this point in my career. And so the thought of having to start again is not attractive. And so they decide it's not possible for me. And so you may be in that space where you are thinking about other things that you would like to do. You're exploring things. You're looking at job boards. You're looking at job specs. And as you're going down the list of the job spec and you're looking at the different bullet points, you're seeing things that don't necessarily align with the experience that you already have. Like you're seeing that they're asking for this experience, they're asking for that, they're asking for this qualification, they're asking for that. And I don't have all of those things. And because I don't have all those things, that means that it's not going to be possible for me to move into that type of role. So just because of that, you're dismissing and discounting yourself for opportunities. And I understand that. I understand why people do that. It's like, well, if the job spec's asking for this, then that's what must be required for you to move into that. It's a competitive market. And so if I don't have all of those pieces, it's not going to be possible for me to move into that type of role. I get that. I fully understand why you might take that approach. But what I want to talk to you about is how to shift your thinking a little bit around this and how you can be focusing on other things. Focusing on other things than I don't have enough experience and this isn't going to be available or possible for me to make this type of transition. Because here's the thing, there's two things that I really want to share with you. So the first is when you are looking at a job specification, and there are a list of things that the company, the organization has stated that they need in a candidate, I want you to realize that whoever has put that job spec together has decided that these are the things that we require. But oftentimes the things that they require, that's the surface level. Like we need someone with this much experience. We need someone who has organization skills or who's able to do this or able to do that, or they've got experience in certain areas. But what most people don't take the time to do is consider what is the reason behind the bullet point. What is the reason behind the bullet point? Like, why have they put that down? Why is that important to them as an organization? So when you're looking at an organization, are you really thinking beyond just the job spec and looking at why are these different elements important? Because when you take the time to go a little bit deeper, what you might recognize is, okay, I don't have that specific thing that they've stated on the job spec. However, knowing what they're trying to achieve, knowing what their objectives are, knowing where we are in terms of the marketplace and the timing, there may well be some really brilliant experience that you already have that is really relevant to this organization. When you're able to do that, when you're able to think on that level, you recognize that your first port of call doesn't need to be, okay, what does the job spec say? What do I need? Your first port of call is really about you doing an audit and fully understanding your brilliance and how awesome you are. And part of what I love to do in my program with the ladies that go through my program is help them to lean into their brilliance and really understand, like, you have probably got 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years experience in a chosen industry, in the industry that you're in right now. And in that experience, in the time that you've been there, your expertise has grown. You've got amazing results for your organization, for your team, for your clients. You've done all of these things. And just because you're considering moving outside of the space that you've been operating and moving into something else, it's as though you think that you lose all of that. Like, poof, it all comes out of my head because I'm moving into a different space. That is totally not the case. What's going to happen is you're going to take all of that experience that you've gained in your current role, and you're going to use that wherever it is that you go. You can't forget that stuff. And so because you can't forget that stuff, and because what you're able to do is of value to your organization, it is, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be paying you for it. Because it's of value, if you're able to articulate that value and you're able to demonstrate how that is really relevant for the type of role that you want to go into, then it becomes less about, like, do you have the specifics on, the specific bullet points, and it's more about, does the value that you have, does it make sense for what you want to move into? And are you able to position yourself as such? And when you can do this, it's super powerful. So I've got a couple clients in mind right now, clients who, one in particular who moved into, she's working as a real estate lawyer for over a decade in private practice. And she was really interested in moving into a different industry. And she was like, I don't even know how I would make this transition. And she told me about a role that came up. So as she was going through the program, an opportunity came up, and she was telling me, like, Janine, I've looked at this job spec and I don't even understand half of the things that they're saying on here. Like, the language that they're using, the terminology that they're using is totally foreign to me. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, let's put that language aside, but let's really look at what it is that they're asking for. And when we were able to drill down and really look at what they were asking for, we were working on putting together her CV, her cover letter, and positioning herself for this opportunity. So she got through to the interview stage, and we were doing a mock interview. Like, we were prepping for the interview. And as I was asking her to kind of, let's talk about some of the experience that you've got that's really relevant to what this is. Let's talk about some of the things that you've done in the past. Let's talk about some of the wins that you've had, the value that you've brought, the achievements that you've gained for your current organization. As she was going through and talking to me, some pieces of experience was coming out of the woodwork, essentially, things that she'd totally forgotten about at the early stages of her career that was super, super impactful. And she got amazing results. And she was like, oh yeah, and I did this thing. Oh, and actually that's really relevant for what it is that they're asking for. And actually, I didn't even realize that I did this and all of this stuff was coming out. And I was like, hey, where is this? Where is this on your CV? Like, I didn't even see this. You never mentioned this before. She's like, I totally forgot about it. And that right there is the thing. There's so much that you have done. There's so much that you have been able to achieve that you forget about. And because you've done it, because you do it, because you're you and it's your experience, it's super easy for you to overlook the value that you bring. Because you're doing your work, right? You're going in, you've got your head down, you're doing what it is you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And so really taking a step back and saying, well, how has this actually made a difference to my organization and my team is not a thing that you often do. And because it's not a thing that you often do, it's hard for you to then articulate that to other people. It's hard for you to even see the value that you're able to bring to another organization. So when you're able to, like, really fully lean into your brilliance, like really fully say, like, I actually have a lot to offer and I'm owning what I have to offer. When you can do that, then it shifts things massively, because there's a level of confidence that comes when you're able to identify what you've actually done. One of my clients the other day on a coaching call, she was just saying, when I went through the exercise and I was really thinking about all that I have done and achieved, I was like, wow, I've actually done a lot. Like, I actually have done a lot. And the point is that her recognizing that now makes it easier for her to then go and share that value going forward. So when you're talking about, okay, let me go and see whether or not I could do this, this, and this, let's not just say, oh, I don't have the experience, so I can't do it. That's just a cop-out. That's just a cop-out. You're just like, yeah, I can't do it. No, let's do the hard things. Like, let's take time to do the work to figure out, like, not, oh, I can't do it. It's like, well, how could I do it? Like, how could I do it? So the first is, let's identify what value you actually have, figure out how you can articulate that value to someone else. And then the second thing is recognizing that, yes, there may be some skills gaps. So there may be some areas in your expertise, your experience that isn't quite there. So there's some industries where you have to have some specifics and you need to be able to have certain things. And maybe those things are missing. But what I want to tell you is that just because it's missing, just because you don't have this particular experience with a certain piece of software or a certain experience with a certain, like principle or method or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you have to go back to school and study for 2 years, get a master's, get an MBA and go back to the drawing board. You don't necessarily have to do that. So there's other ways for you to educate yourself and build your own curriculum so that you can bridge the gap. So what you want to do is identify what those gaps are and then figure out, well, what would be my plan to bridge those gaps? What would I need to do for me to get confident in those areas that I feel like I'm lacking so that I can perform the best in this type of role? So really thinking about it objectively and strategically rather than feeling like your default is I need to go back and get another degree. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I know you're a high achiever. I know you're someone, if you're anything like me, you like learning, you like to study. And so you go from one course to another course to another course or another program. And it's not always required. So when you're thinking about, if I want to make this transition, I'm going to have to spend the next 2 years skilling up or learning about this by going to do a 2-3 year course, that isn't always the case. That isn't always necessary. So we want to be looking at how do I identify what I've actually got that I can leverage? And then how am I going to look at the path of least resistance? So what do I need to do to be able to get me to where it is I want to go? But identifying the what before you think about the how, it's like when you know what the what is, and you're saying, okay, that's what I'm going for. This piece now is when you're starting to think about the how. Like, how would I actually build the bridge from where I am now to where it is I want to go? And I know it's a lot. I know it might not be the way that you've been thinking about approaching your job search. And this is why we have a module in our program dedicated to this, because it's not necessarily easy. And it isn't easy to think about it for yourself. When I'm thinking about my experience or you're thinking about your experience, you might not really notice the value in it. But it's when you explain it to me or you bring it to a coaching call and you're saying it and other people are like, hey, that is so, so valuable. Like, did you not realize that you get those light bulb moments? And it's so beautiful to see when people go from feeling like, I don't even know what I'd bring to the table to like, do you know what? I've actually got a lot. There's a lot here that I can draw on. And so that's what we really do inside the program. So I just want to encourage you as you are thinking about what the next steps can be for you and you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, don't discount yourself too easy. Don't discount yourself too easy. Don't just be like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Just think about, what do I really want to do? And then let's have a plan of action as to how we can get there. So yeah, I want you to just really think about that when you're next looking at a job spec and saying, oh no, I couldn't do that. If it's something you want to do, then it's totally possible for you to figure out what is the transition. And don't forget how amazing you are already and all of the experience that you have to date is totally relevant. So we just need to look at how we can leverage that. So excited by the possibility, just knowing that there's going to be a group of women coming together and going through this together and going through what isn't an easy process. Like figuring out what you want to do next isn't easy. It might be simple, but it's not easy. And having the support that you need to not only have the strategy, like I can tell you, do this, do this, do this, but there's a lot of mindset stuff. There's a lot of mindset stuff that comes up. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that are going to come up. There's a lot of things that you have to push through and work through in order for you to really go for it. I'm drawing on my experience as a life coach and as a career coach and an executive coach and my over a decade of experience as a lawyer and being a professional and knowing all of these things and having that background, I bring it all together and blend it together in a way that allows you to follow a proven process and get over the blocks that you're going to achieve easier, faster, and with the right types of support. That's all I have for you, and have a good night. This episode is sponsored by the Career Changemaker program. Are you ready to make a change in your career? Are you tired of coasting in a role or career that is no longer a good fit? Are you ready to create more impact, feel more fulfilled, and earn more money from the work that you do? If you are nodding your head and what I shared resonates with you, then lean in because I want to share more with you about the program. This is my signature coaching program that is designed to help you to identify and make your next best career move. I created this program because I recognize that too many amazingly talented women are missing important direction and strategy for their career development and advancement. In the corporate world, there is an unspoken, invisible playbook that determines how you should maneuver to experience the type of career satisfaction that you desire. The problem is, so many women have the playbook with a few pages missing. And if you have pages missing, you're in a position where you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, how can you fix it? So I really want to help you. Let me help you fill in the gaps so that you can understand exactly what is required to take you from where you are now to where you want to be in your career, so that you can feel fulfilled in the work that you're doing, so you can be excited about the work that you do, and so that you can feel the impact that you're making through the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Make your application to join the Career Changemaker program today by heading over to www.careerchangemakers.com/program, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any future episodes. Also, I would love to know what your biggest takeaway has been from today's episode. Come over and join us in our Career Changemakers community over on LinkedIn so that you can join the conversation there. Head over to lightboxcoaching.com/community and it will take you right to the group. I look forward to seeing you.